It's been quite interesting watching both your campaigns and reading about your backgrounds. Here's the cover of the Weekly Standard magazine, Jon Tester, where you're in front of a truck with a shovel and a considerable girth, which doesn't make you a bad guy. I know the feeling. Are you a new kind of Democrat? Are you different than some of the national Democrats the country's heard from over the last decade?
Well, I don't know. My focus really is on what I talked about, the middle class and the people who have really built this country. I think Democrats have been focused on that in the past, but it really is a priority of mine. You know, as I look out my window here in Big Sandy, I see more farms that aren't lived in than what are lived in. We really need to have some policies that move forward, that work for production agriculture. We've got to have some policies that work for the middle class. One of the reasons I am a Democrat is because I think the Democrats have focused on the middle class, and I hope they put more of a priority on it into the future, and it's one of the things that I feel very, very strongly about. It's where I come from.
You said when you walked into the Senate, in the Senate chamber for the first time, it was like walking into your barn. There was no other place in the world quite like it.
Well, I mean that from a very positive standpoint. The barn was built by my granddad nearly 100 years ago, and it's a very special place for me, as was the Capitol. Very, very impressive, and it's a place where I hope to be able to do some really good work, working on both sides of the aisle, finding the common ground to help move this country forward and the state of Montana forward, both domestically and from a foreign affairs standpoint. So it's a marvelous place. You know that, Tim, and I really look forward to the challenges that are presented to me over the next 6 years.
Jim Webb, you had this comment in the Washington Post which caught my attention. Webb said he will model himself after former New York Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan, whom he described as someone who had government experience that was shaped by the intellectual world. A man I knew well, described as independent, maverick, iconoclastic. Do you see yourself along those lines?
You know, when this campaign started and people were saying I didn't know how to do sound bites and debates and this sort of thing, and I sat down one day and I said, well, who is my prototype here? And it would be Daniel Patrick Moynihan, someone who had government experience but who was shaped through the intellectual world and who cared about where you measure society, which is at the base rather than at the top. Where is the health of society? And yeah, I very much look forward to, in many ways, following his footsteps.
Sometimes got in trouble for his writings.
And you know, I'm really looking forward to trying to do some of the same things that he did in terms of putting my experience in the intellectual world onto the problems, the practical problems of today.